we have to remember that we learned from some of the best. They had some white boys came over here that did the first beheadings in Point Coupee, Louisiana, where I'm from. Slave insurrection, that was the way you dealt with it. Tuskegee syphilis incident. We're going to see how black men die if they have syphilis, but we pretend we treat them with penicillin, and we're just going to watch the pathology of how they die. Now, that wasn't back 200 years ago. That was 1930 to 1974. We're talking about giving these wonderful blankets to Native Americans infected with smallpox as they walked on that trail of tears just to see how they die and to eliminate their population so we can take all of that land. So the violence that is in America has come from a very learned position that was brought here by some Caucasian folks. All right.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Good to see everybody again. The long holiday is over. And I tell you what, Niele, there's no holiday in this world.
Well, peace and love to everybody. Hope everybody had a good year. For those who don't know, welcome to Let It Be Known, Black Press USA's morning show that is uplifting and inspiring the Black experience. I'm Niele Anderson, and Stacy, you know, we're going to start this year off with fresh eyes. Same shit, but fresh eyes.
Oh boy, let's put some fresh eyes on this. You know, last month, it was just a month ago that this administration that we are living under in this country pardoned the ex-president of Honduras, who was serving a 45-year prison sentence in the U.S. 7th military operation well, I'm skipping because it's so much, but he just pardoned him on drug trafficking, right? And they go over there and kidnap the president of Venezuela and his wife, allegedly for drug trafficking. Make it make sense, folks. It's the 7th military operation since Trump took office. And you got some black lawmakers in Congress openly challenging the operation in Venezuela. And look, they're parading this president of Venezuela around like some sort of like you go fishing and you show like this big fish you caught. And they parade them all around Manhattan. Everywhere you go and look, they're taking, you got the agents taking pictures and selfies with the guy like he's some sort of dead fish. This is not how, even MAGA folks didn't vote for this, Niele. They said they didn't vote for it. But, of course, it's the FAFO, right? And he's threatening other countries. But I'm going to tell you this. I am enjoying it to an extent the response from Cuba, the response from Colombia, the response from Brazil, the response from China was really something. Homeboy in China, the leader over there, he said, you send a shot, we taking 2 shots. You send a nuclear bomb, we're blowing everything up. He said, come forward. It's out of hand. It's out of hand, and nobody is doing anything about it. Nobody. I don't care what Hakeem Jeffries said. I know he ain't got no power at this point, but nobody. And then he tells you in your face, folks, this is all about the oil. I went over there, and now, because these billionaires, these oil barons, he told them when he ran, give me $1 billion and I am going to make sure that you get paid. I'm gonna make sure. And he mentioned Venezuela by name when he was in that speech, if you go back to it. And then he goes over there and now he's telling you it's all about the oil. Now they're gonna kill this man, perhaps Maduro and his wife. They're probably gonna put him to death. And they're gonna go. He's now running Venezuela, Niele.
Well, I mean, I think America was shocked on January 3rd to wake up to that surprising news that basically the Department of War was living up to the new name, right? And there's just so much to unpack from what happened from the war room that they created at Mar-a-Lago. You know, you tear down one building, and then you put up drapes in another. But there's so much to unpack from January 3rd. But what we do know thus far, the New York Times is reporting at least 40 people, including military and civilians, were killed, including an 80-year-old woman named Rosa Gonzalez. We know that 92-year-old Alvin Hellerstein, who was appointed by Bill Clinton in 1998, will be presiding over the Venezuelan president's case. We know that he's here in the United States. We also know that there are thousands of Americans stranded in the Caribbean and can't get back home because
Mhm.
of what this dictator president in the United States has done. Um, and we know that it's about the oil. And we also know that the Venezuelan people are happy. They're happy. And so two things can be right at the same time. You know, their president was treacherous, just like our president, right? We know that he has done horrible and evil things, just like our president. So I am happy for the Venezuelan people. I'm happy for them. But at the same time, I've seen lots of articles about how our oil companies built the infrastructure in Venezuela, right? We built it, we put all the money, and then for whatever reason, they took it back and they kicked us out. And I see a lot of white people and some black people saying, well, we built it. I'm thinking, well, black folks built America. We ain't never got our 40 acres in a mule. You know what I'm saying? So why are we so upset that the Venezuelan people took their land, took their and told us to get out? Okay, shit happens, white folks. But for a black person to hear that, it makes them think about, I know for me personally, well, what about black folks? They build American land. We ain't never really got no reparations for that. So, you know, what makes you think that, you know, somebody taking something from you is more valuable than you taking stuff for black folks? So I think there are layers to this conversation as we look at it, and as it unfolds. But what I really realize is that the Department of War is living up to its name. And
Right.
starting off the year on January 3rd, with the Department of War starting World War III, should definitely be looked at. And the conversation should be about that we are now entering World War III, based upon the behavior and the actions. And to your point, Stacy, of him talking about Colombia, him talking about Cuba, him talking about Nigeria, and also realizing that those same countries are in alliance with countries like China and Russia. And so there's been a Pandora's box that has been opened that we should be very concerned about, and be paying close attention to.
Yeah, all of what you said, basically, the one deviation I would take is when we say that Venezuelan people are happy. It depends on who you're listening to, because
Well,
not all are happy.
majority of them are happy, Stacy.
I,
That man
well,
was
I'm
that
not
that
right.
yeah, they I
I'm
mean,
not
come on.
sure that even those who, like you said, based on what I've seen, even those that you're saying are happy, and there's no question that some are happy. They're just
Most majority
even
of the country
even
is.
I wouldn't say majority, but I guess that's your read on it, and I can't argue with your read on it. But I will say this: that even those who are happy to see Maduro removed, they are not happy with the way it's happening. They're not happy with the fact that the U.S. has a dictator who is now going to be their leader right now. They're not happy about that at all. And you know, you call into dictatorship. We've been talking about dictatorships, and you mentioned Mar-a-Lago. Just imagine that someone invades here. Mar-a-Lago is now a serious target. You think about Saddam Hussein. They went in there, they went to the president's palace there, they plummeted it, they pillaged it, and they dragged him out of a hole somewhere. You think about Gaddafi, they blew up his place and you know, they went through it, plumaged it, you know, whatever, and they dragged him out of a sewer somewhere. What I'm saying is, and they killed his family, these people's families. Dictatorships end in the most brutal way possible. Now they have not yet killed Maduro from Venezuela. And I think that what will happen there is that more than likely, if they try him for certain crimes, they'll put him in prison forever, or until the next president comes and might pardon him or whatever, or they may kill him. Trump, you reap what you sow. You want to be dictator. You want to make Mar-a-Lago the White House of the South. That is all in play for foreign governments. And you got all these, and I'm telling you what, this may sound very racist, but I'm telling you what, the Colombians, the Mexicans, the Cubans, all of them Latin American nations, those Hispanic folks, those Latino folks, they don't play. They'll cut your head off. And they are not playing right now. They have taken a stand publicly, and it's not going to be as easy as 1, 2, 3. The U.S. going into Cuba, Colombia, Mexico. That's not going to be so easy. And Donald Trump will be, and J.D. Vance will be targets. It's off now. It used to be that while the U.S. never really, whether whoever was in office, never really obeyed international law. They never obeyed the Geneva Convention. Other countries have taken note, and I think that you're going to see, you mentioned World War III. We are going to finally see on American soil the battle. It's coming here, folks. This is what this president and this administration and the Heritage Foundation, and by the way, speaking of the Heritage Foundation, don't be misled. Open up Project 2025, and what was in Project 2025? I reported on this over the weekend. Venezuela. What happened the other night is in Project 2025. So all of them.
Well, they anticipate things happening on our soil. I mean, and it goes back to me saying, just talking about them changing the name of the Department of Defense to the Department of War, because that changes the mindset, and it also changes how the infrastructure and how they operate. And I, am beginning to pay attention and see that name, the Department of War, really means something, because that's what they intend to do. They intend to start war.
But it's coming here.
And so
it's coming here.
But that's what I'm getting to. They anticipate that. If you are preparing for war, then you anticipate it happening on your soil. But guess what? When it happens to us, the casualties are going to be us, but that's going to be the ammunition that they need to continue to fight. And so they've already anticipated happening to us, Stacy, but they don't give a damn, because they don't care about the casualties. They don't really care about the American people. We know that by all of their actions that they've done last year. And all of the things that are going to be implemented this year domestically that are going to hurt and disenfranchise the American people, not just people of color, but their voters too. Okay. So when you say it's going to happen on this land, they know that. And they want that to happen, because that is going to give them the ammunition they need to continue their war.
What makes them, Niele, what makes America think that they can go into other countries, kidnap their leaders, and it can't happen here? Why do we think it can't happen here?
Well, I mean, it is true. The United States does have the strongest and largest military known. And so I think it's harder to do something like that in the United States. I'm not saying that they can't, but it's much harder to go come into the United States and take over than it is for another country.
Well, not necessarily take over, but take your leader.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a Denzel Washington or Jamie Foxx presidential movie. But I'm not saying that it can't happen, but that is a far stretch, Stacy. I do believe. I do.
No, so what I'm saying, I'm thinking about all the regimes that has happened, and they went into Honduras, they took that president. They remember Nicaragua, Noriega, they took him. There have been other leaders that they have. Trump is not the only one, and what I'm saying that his leadership is not the only one, but these countries that they've gone into, must have felt, at least their security felt. And I know Venezuela certainly, because you hear it coming out of there. They felt that they had a fail-proof system in which it's no way you can come in here and grab our leader like this. Go into the presidential palace. It's like going into the White House or Mar-a-Lago. There's no way you could do that.
Now,
So when I
Mar-a-Lago might be a more open target, but
Mhm.
I still believe with the president there and the way they play, I think that's a hard sell. I'm not saying that it's impossible,
Right.
but I just want to be clear. I do believe two things can be right at the same time. I believe that the people of Venezuela have a love, a bittersweet. It's bittersweet to them
Mhm.
because they do enjoy the freedom. They
Mhm.
are celebrating, they are rejoicing, but at the same time, they don't want to be colonized and they do not want the United States, and they do not like the headlines that they're hearing that the United States is going to run their country until the United States decides how that country should move forward. No, they're not happy about that, but they are happy that the dictator is gone. And that's what I'm saying. Two things can be right at the same time. So I don't think we have to argue both,
Mhm.
because both are true. They don't
Right.
want the United States running their country, but they didn't want the dictator in either.
Yeah, so I saw something, and not that I'm for dictatorships because I'm not, but I saw something very interesting about Muammar Gaddafi, as bad as he was. Um, and this is a note for Donald Trump, who is a wannabe dictator. Hey, listen, that's not an insult to the man. He wants to be a dictator. It's no question about it. He wants to be a dictator. So here's what you can learn from a other dictators. If you want to emulate any dictator, maybe it's Muammar Gaddafi in this sense. Uh, Citizens in Libya under Muammar Gaddafi, once when they got married, the government gave them 60,000, whatever their currency is, gave them land, right? Healthcare was totally free, totally free. Um, Jobs were aplenty. All the stuff that we see that we can't afford, can't get, people can't get jobs, you can't get healthcare, you get married, cost you an arm and a leg to get married, cost your arm and leg and have a baby. In Libya under Gaddafi, you had a baby. They also gave you something like 60,000, whatever the currency was. How about imitating that type of dictatorship? That part of the dictatorship, Donald Trump. How about imitating that part of it?
Right.
Because America is used to being the so-called land of the free. Depends on what color you are, but it's supposed to be the land of the free. So, how about some free healthcare? Your neighbors to the north, who you despise in Canada, free healthcare. One of the trade-offs that Canada, and I want to make this clear too, one of the trade-offs for free healthcare in Canada is high gas prices. Well, our gas prices always shoot up. You live in Los Angeles, you live in California, you know the very definition of high gas prices. So I think a lot of us would be willing to pay $4 or $5 a gallon if we got free healthcare.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's why, you know, people have live in the land that they choose to live in. And so that's their business. We need to mind our business. And there's a lot of business in the United States, Stacy, that we
Yep.
should be talking about. And this next story is one of them. Texas Republicans are advancing a bill to abolish civil rights enforcement entirely, making it the only state without civil rights commissions. Okay, so if the bill passes, victims of discrimination will have no more one or nowhere to turn on a state level. And so, as we're talking about what's happening over in Venezuela, right here in the United States, Texas is moving to abolish civil rights. And as Texas goes,
Right, of
we see
course.
other states and southern
Florida.
states go.
Mhm.
And so this is very devastating to hear, and to see that white men continue, powerful white men, let me just say that, powerful white men, and we have to start calling it out for what it is. Powerful white men in this country are reminiscent of the Ku Klux Klan. And they
Well,
like to disenfranchise people of color. And
I,
this is an example of that.
I told you they were born with sheets on over their heads already. I told you that. I mean, this is absolutely insane. But who could expect less? When this administration took over, that one of the first things they did was dismantle the DOJ civil rights. They absolutely turned it on its head and claiming that the only discrimination happens against white men. Once again, even that shows how little they care about white women. They care less about white women are simply baby makers to them. That's it. Have babies. That's all you're good for. And white women should be offended because there's a lot of brilliant white women out there.
Right. And like it's not even about, what we think statistics show. And there is a long history in this country of people of color, starting with Black folks, really starting with indigenous people. But Black folks being disenfranchised, discriminated against, and why we had to have there would be no civil rights movement if there wasn't a need for civil rights. There wouldn't be a Civil Rights Act of 1964 if it wasn't needed. I don't think that Congress nor Lyndon B. Johnson, I don't think that Dr. King, I don't think that John Lewis, Black folks didn't want to get beat up just to be able to sit at a counter with white folks.
Right.
So when people say that, oh, that's not true, that's just race baiting, all the no. Let's just go back. It ain't been 100 years. Black folks couldn't sit in the same restaurant, drink out the same water fountain, use the same restroom as white folks. No other
Right.
folks but white folks. Wasn't Latino folks, wasn't indigenous people folks, wasn't Asian folks. It was white folks. And so because of that, black people led the charge. And I'm talking to an audience of one now in the chat. But black people had to lead the charge to make sure that we compete in the same stall as white folks to drink out the same water fountain. So when you say that civil rights isn't needed and it's race baiting, that's just total bullshit.
Okay,
Our
simple.
grandparents and great grandparents had to fight to be able to do the very basics, to be able to get a loan in this country, to be able to buy a house, to be able to buy a car, to be able for their kids just to go to the same school and get a fair education. So when we talk about civil rights, this is what we're talking about. And Texas is trying to abolish that. Black folks should be highly concerned about what's happening in Texas, not just with the voting rights, but now look, they're attacking our civil rights. And the Voting Rights Act of 1964, not the Voting Rights Act of 1965 and the Civil Rights Act of 1964 were two crucial pieces of legislation that tried to make the playing field fair in this country. And here we are under a Trump administration, them trying to pull all of that back.
Yeah, it's welcome white folks, welcome racist folks, welcome bots. Y'all all are welcome because we see Super Queen or Super King
And
Anthony or
we're
whatever.
still waiting for our 40 acres and a mule. We
uh,
still ain't got our
I
40 acres and a
I
mule.
think
And
that
they mad at the Venezuela, the people, because they said, get up out of here. Yeah, you pay for all this oil infrastructure, but we don't want it no more. So what? Okay. Black folks still wait for 40 acres and a mule. Get out of here.
yeah, listen. I saw, and I'm trying to remember. I don't know if it was James Baldwin, someone else, who talked about that how black folks can't be racist. You can't be labeled a racist in this country. And I don't remember the exact wording, but if you listen to whoever said it, like I'm trying to remember who, but you understand what that individual meant and how powerful that statement was.
Mhm.
But most importantly, most importantly, I believe uh, Louis Farrakhan said it best when he said, here's the problem that a lot of white folks have. They are so afraid that if black folks ever got the power, we would treat them the way they treat us and have treated us. And that is really the fundamental problem.
And Barack Obama proved that to be a myth and a lie. You know what I'm saying? And then there's a question in the chat that says, how many times a day do y'all think of race today? As many times as the Heritage Foundation and Donald
How many
Trump
times y'all gonna be
tried
racist
it.
a day?
You know, no. But it's about how many times a day they are going to repeal all of the things that make it a fair playing field for people of color and white folks. It's not us, it's y'all. It's not us, it's y'all. I'll say it one more time. It's not us, it's y'all. And this Trump administration, ever since they got in office last year, they have proven that it's y'all, because they continue to take everything away that has been gained since the Voting Rights Act, since civil rights. They're turning all that away. And they're y'all definitely afraid and don't want the word to get out that y'all are no longer the majority. For whatever reason, that petrifies white folks, especially white men of power. That scares the shit out of them that they are no longer the majority.
Yeah, and the only thing, listen, for the most part, the only thing black folks ever wanted was a level playing field. Why was that? Why is that too much to ask? And then of course you get the brainwashed ones who will say stuff like these idiots saying on the chat. So there you have it.
Well, moving on to more news that we need to know about, because a lot of things, of course, when we know the year changes, different laws and ordinances take place. And with the new year, new restrictions and bans for Americans living in 5 states who receive SNAP benefits. So starting back on January 1, people living in Indiana, Iowa, Nebraska, Utah, and West Virginia, they're no longer able to purchase soda, candy, or other junk food items. Now, the National Grocers Association and other trade groups estimates the restrictions will cost U.S. retailers 1.6 billion initially, and additional 759 million every year after. So once again, the Trump administration continues to do things, and they're not well thought out plans. Because although, okay, although they're hurting, the recipients, but guess what? They're hurting their buddies in corporate America, the retailer chains as well, because now they are going to be impacted by this and lose money. So it's going to be interesting to see as they move and they don't continue to flush out these dumb ideas, how it's going to impact their friends. And we know that there is no honor among thieves and no honor when it comes to the bottom line, and that's the dollar. Donald Trump will tell you that.
Well, I got two facts to say about that. One is, again, the myth has been perpetrated forever, and now they are finding out. White folks rely on social services like SNAP and other things more than black folks, number one. Number two, the real big thing here is, Niele, give me the Epstein files. All of them, unredacted. That's the real thing. So come on. That's just, come on.
All right.
So moving on, because they gotta, they do what they do because they're thinking they're hurting mostly black and brown people with stuff like SNAP and all that. That's the bottom line. And so they're, all of them are, as you said a long time ago, we've repeated it many times, they are FAFO. That's all. The United States Postal Service is moving to postmark. They're moving the postmark by processing date, causing concerns. The postmark by processing date, which caused concerns for voters and healthcare patients relying on deadlines. Most people assume their mail is postmarked the day they drop it in a mailbox or at a post office, but that's not the case anymore. According to the Postal Service, they said, while the presence of a postmark on a mail piece confirms that the Postal Service was in possession of the mail piece on the date of the postmark's inscription, the postmark date does not inherently or necessarily align with the date on which the Postal Service first accepted possession of the mail piece. So, in other words, folks, your mail isn't always postmarked on the date it's collected. And that could hurt a lot of things, Neil, as you know.
Yeah, most importantly, as we look at 2026 and the midterms and how critical they are going to be to the future and the direction of this country, Donald Trump he doesn't like mail-in ballots one day. They're okay when they benefit him. But this can really impact the midterms. And so this information is crucial. It definitely needs to get out. And it's just another subtle way of Republicans trying to steal the election. This is, what they're doing is they're building up their mechanisms. They'll do it at the polls, and now they're doing it with absentee ballots. They do it with misinformation. So this is just another layer of how they plan to keep their power by having Republicans stay in power in Congress. And of course, there's also the conversations about prescriptions and legal documents. But there are ways to make sure that your mail is post dated. If something is very critical and important, Stacy, just, people need to just go into the post office and get it actually postmarked from a postal worker. You just have to stand in line. If it's that important, stand in line and get your stuff postmarked.
And that is really the bottom line, because they they are pulling out all the stops. If you remember, Neil, in Trump's first term, he turned the postal service upside down, and it's never been the same again. So this is all a part of that, him living out his ancestors' wildest dreams. I'm gonna go back for a second to the Epstein situation, because the Colombian president Gustavo Petro went all in yesterday on the Trump administration, calling the U.S. government a government of pedophiles. And they like I said, they're not playing. And the Epstein files are out there, and the Colombian president really went all in, and he dared them to release the files. He called Trump and the U.S. government a government of pedophiles, going into Venezuela to arrest a person they're claiming to be a criminal.
Yeah, well, lots of countries have been speaking out. I know the British Parliament, one of the dignitaries, you know how Parliament goes back and forth while they were in session. I guess it's equivalent to our Congress. One of the leaders said, "Well, since Trump went over there and to Venezuela, can we go over to Israel and get Netanyahu?" So see, it opens up a Pandora's box, right? So when you think about, like, yeah, why can't you go get Netanyahu? Somebody go over
Mm.
there and get him.
There you go. And this my last note on that. He used the Colombian president, by the way, used your words too, Niele. He called them a clan. He said they're a clan of pedophiles.
Oh, for sure. And so, these are the times we're living in. But since you were talking about the post office, on a brighter note, the U.S. Postal Service will honor Phyllis Wheatley, the
Oh,
first published African American poet with the 49th Black Heritage Stamp. Now, the stamp is part of the Postal Service's Black Heritage Series that began in 1978, recognizing Black contributions to American history. Now, the stamp will feature a portrait of Wheatley and commemorate her role as a pioneering Black literary figure whose work became known internationally in the 18th century. So go ahead and get ready to get those Phyllis Wheatley forever stamps while you're getting your your important mail postmarked.
oh boy, does JD Vance and Trump know about this? You better keep it quiet.
You know, and
Oh,
you have some good news as well, right? About the Olympics.
I do. The young lady who plays hockey. Layla Edwards is set to become the first Black woman to play Winter Olympic ice hockey for Team
Mm.
USA. She's 21 years old, out of the University of Wisconsin, and she's been included in Team USA's 23-player roster for 2026. So good for her. And I tell you, listen, I know that it's not traditionally been a sport that many of us have participated in, but my family and I, we go to some hockey games. We love it. It's hockey is a it's a great sport. It's you talk about athletes. These guys on ice are some serious athletes. And Layla Edwards, I have not seen her play, and now I'm very much interested in watching her play.
I mean, I hate to brag or pop our collar, but that's what we
Pop
do
that
to
collar.
sports. I bet you there'll be a lot more eyes on hockey this Olympic time or this go around because we want to see her play. We want to see what she's made of. Think of ice skating. Think of just the Winter Olympics is they don't draw as many ratings as
Right.
of course the Summer Olympics do, but things like this bring eyeballs. And I think that's why they decided to bring Snoop Dogg to the Winter Olympics because they want more eyeballs on the
Yeah.
sport. So, we got her and now Snoop is coming. And I also read that they have even hired social influencers to be a
Yeah.
part of the Olympic Games, the Winter Olympic Games. So they're trying to bring more eyeballs in stories like this, and Snoop Dogg and these creators might be just what the Winter Olympics need. Although I love the bobsledding, I love the
Hmm.
ice skating.
Yeah.
But statistics are what they are. Ratings are not as high as summer, so this will help.
Well, the last time, just to put that into perspective too, when we talk about hockey here, the last time that it has generated this type of buzz was 1980, when the U.S. Olympic hockey team pulled what they called the Miracle on Ice when they defeated the Soviet Union team.
Hmm.
Um, and it was just a shocker because the Soviet Union team back then, folks, the U.S. hockey, and this is why basketball started having NBA players into the Olympics, but the Soviet team was all professionals, whereas the Olympic team was not. They were all
Mm,
amateurs,
I
and
didn't know that.
they pulled off the upset of upsets, and they even made movies about it, et cetera, et cetera. But in the 1990s, around
Hmm.
1990 is when basketball, they said, listen, uh, we're tired of this. The Soviets are using, by that time, they became just Russia, but the Soviets were using all of these professionals. And so it
Hmm.
was teams like from Yugoslavia and other nations, Czechoslovakia, they were all using pros, and the US had always sent amateurs. The best sport for the US in the Olympics prior to it becoming a competition of pros
Hmm.
was boxing.
Ah, okay.
And I mean, you had so many great boxing Olympians, including Muhammad Ali, Sugar Ray Leonard, et cetera, et cetera.
Hmm.
Even Floyd Mayweather's father. So it became a situation where the U.S. felt like it had no choice but to start sending professionals. But so Layla Edwards coming, like you said, Snoop Dogg and all of them, but Layla going into the Olympics as the first Black woman to play ice hockey in the Winter Olympics, that is generating the type of buzz that the hockey itself um, had not received since 1980. And again, hockey is still using, for the most part, I think it's a mixture now of college players and professional players, and it tells you just how good Layla is.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to having more stories about the Winter Olympics and also highlighting Black athletes, past and present, who have participated and who will be participating in the Winter Olympics this year. Really excited about that. But let's hop over to some politics. As we know, 2026 is a huge year for politics. And we have several elections kicking off tomorrow, which we'll have more details about. But we definitely want to honor what happened last year. And so January marked a historic milestone for Black women in local governance. Now, 3 Black women have been sworn in as as mayors in major cities. And we'll start with Detroit. We have Mary Sheffield, who took her oath of office in a private ceremony, and she became the city's first woman and first Black woman mayor in its 324-year history. And then Sharon Owens was sworn in as the mayor of Syracuse. She became the first Black woman and the second woman overall to serve as mayor in the city's 177th year history. And in Albany, Dorsey Aprelis was sworn in, becoming the first Black woman and first person of color to hold the office in the city's entire history. And so, you saw a lot of swearing in of Black leadership on a state and local level. There was a story that went viral of a young man coming out of Georgia who broke down in tears as he was sworn in. So as we talk about, we started the show off, very heavy. But when we talk about what's happening in our country and Black leadership and keeping our survival alive, it is happening. And Black leadership is being sworn in all across this country.
And to be clear, Albany and Syracuse are cities in upper New York and upstate New York. And Albany, of course, is the capital of New York. And that says a lot that you're getting Black women mayors upstate New York, because that upstate New York is generally more like Mississippi. Just to put it in perspective. So that's a really, really interesting turn of events in upstate New York. Yeah,
Awesome.
It's not the city. The city is the city. It's a melting pot. It's democratic. But when you leave the city and you go up in New York, when you start climbing the ladder, going up north, it is a Republican haven, and it is. Let's face it. It is mostly white.
Yeah, speaking of New York, shout out to Zohran Mandami, who is now sworn in as the mayor of New York, and he hit the ground running, visiting apartments. His swearing in was symbolic, and he even had comments about Donald Trump. And I saw a viral video that happened in December. And apparently Mandami had said that if Netanyahu were to come to New York, he would follow international law and have him arrested. And Netanyahu laughed and said he would come to New York. So what does that say to you?
Well, it says, listen, Mandami seems like somebody who you don't really want to test. That's how I see it.
Now he's the FAFO. You're saying he's
exactly.
the FAFO.
And so if he said it, he's going to back it up, or at least attempt to back it up. So
Yeah.
Go ahead, Netanyahu, let the UN or somebody invite you. See what happens.
Yeah. I mean, he was just so smug when he said it, and we knew what that was coming from. It was coming from the Kushners and the Trumps and him feeling like he's invincible in the United States. But Zohran said he follow international law. So I hope he does FAFO. Okay.
Listen, Orange G says on January 12th, New Orleans will swear in a white Latina Dixiecrat as mayor. He says, I didn't vote for that thing.
Well, somebody did, Orangey. Give her a chance.
Listen, didn't they say that about the current incumbent of on Pennsylvania Avenue?
She was out there with Don. She was out there with Don Lemon on New Year's. She was out there with the lemon heads. She was trying to fit in and be well received. Oh, and Dr. Marilyn says, Happy Founders Day to the brothers of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. Yeah, congratulations. Go. All right, let's head to Chicago, where good news coming out of there. Chicago has recorded its fewest killings since 1965, despite Trump's campaign against the city. Overall crime continued to drop as the number of murders in Chicago decreased from 587 in 2024 to 416 last year. And as of December 28th, shootings had fallen 35% from 2024. Robberies were down 36%, and aggravated batteries had dipped 11% police data shows. Now, Mayor Brandon Johnson, who has also been at it with Donald Trump, said this: there's a lot more work for us to do. We're not patting ourselves on the back yet, but we are certainly grateful for moving toward this positive trend. So shout out and kudos to Chicago, because, you know, they had horrible headlines, and this is a good one, and it should be amplified.
Yeah, and these cities, Brandon Scott City there in Baltimore, the crime rate dipped to record lows, the murder rate to record lows. New York experienced historic low homicide and shooting rates throughout 2025. And I guess with Greer being out of Brooklyn these days, they saw their fewest murders and shootings ever recorded. So, I just, I think it maybe not just a coincidence that Greer is not in Brooklyn anymore, and they getting it together there. I don't know.
Come on, son.
Well, hey, whatever it takes, okay? We're leaving, whatever it takes. The crime is down. And going back again, Black leadership, as all of this is going on, we start the show in Venezuela and talking about Trump. But as all of this is going on, Black leadership, Black movement, Black progress still continues to happen, and people are focused about doing the good work of the people, and we have to continue to uplift that and not get swallowed up in all of this BS that this Trump clan administration is doing. But Stacy, let's lighten it a little bit and talk some entertainment, because last night award season kicked off with the Critics' Choice Awards. Uh-oh. And, I was impressed at some of the winners. Sinners was in the headlines a lot, which about a story that I think we're going to talk about later in the week, about, ownership of some very powerful entities in Hollywood. We'll get into that later. But let's talk about some of the winners at the Critics' Choice Awards. And let's start with Sinners. Sinners picked up Best Casting with an Ensemble, Best Young Actor, Sammy Moore, Best Original Screenplay, which of course went to Ryan Coogler. We were hoping that Michael B. Jordan would walk away with Best Actor, but he didn't. But for them, Sinners to walk away with 3 awards, I thought that was pretty huge.
It is. There's been, like you said, a lot of talk lately about Sinners, and we'll get into it later this week, like you said. But yeah, it's good for them, and good for it's the recognition itself shows you just how sometimes you can't ignore greatness. For sure. I think the creators of that show, I've never watched it, but I'm going on everything I've heard, everything I've read, and including the critics of that movie. So
right. And they also won Best Score. So they walked away with 4 total: Best Score, Original Screenplay, Best Young Actor, which was Sammy Moore, and then Best Casting Ensemble. So that was huge. Another big winner was Best Supporting Actress in a Comedy, Janelle James from Abbott Elementary. She plays the principal. I don't know if you've ever watched that show.
Oh, but we watch it. Yeah, she's absolutely off the hook. It's a great cast, Abbott Elementary. But I think we know that Quinta is the creator. She's the star of the show and all. But Janelle James, they had an episode not long ago where she was fired as principal, and for a second you thought, okay, are they taking her off the show? It'd be a mistake. Mm-hmm. But of course, in the only way that they know how, I mean, how they brought her back and the hilarity that followed, she's absolutely just a treat to watch.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then finally, another highlight walking out of there was Best Supporting Actor in a Drama Series, and that went to Tremel Tillman. I wasn't really familiar with his project, but I was happy. I'm, in the words of Issa Rae, I'm rooting for everybody Black.
You know, Stephanie Mills is like that. You know, anything black. Stephanie's like with the fist in the air and everything. So you're not the only one
Oh,
because I
Dr.
don't know
Mellon.
this.
Dr. Mellon gave it to us. A great movie. She said, there was none like it. Oh, she's talking
Oh,
about
okay.
Sinners. She's talking about
Oh,
Sinners. I'm pretty
goodness.
sure she's
Okay.
talking about Sinners.
Okay.
And then for Best Picture, Director, Adapted Screenplay, well, no, not really. That's what they were nominated for. But for Best Picture, went to
Not
One
really.
Battle After Another. I don't know if you saw that. That was with Leonardo DiCaprio, Tiana Taylor, Regina Hall played in that as well. 2 hours and 42 minutes, very long movie,
Ooh.
very interesting, and it was really good. I enjoyed it. So congratulations to that movie. Because what I learned about it, it was very interesting. You have to watch it. But the director and writer is a white guy, but he has a black family.
Oh,
And so when you watch the movie, it makes a lot more sense.
okay.
One battle after another. Because of the storyline.
You saw it, Niele?
Yes, I did.
And you thought it was great?
I thought it was good. I thought it was good. And we can even talk to Dr. Melina Abdul is joining us from Black Lives Matter. Oh, she loved it. When I first saw it, I thought about her because there's like it has references to, you know, movement work, although it gets a little dicey and shady. I said it gave Monsters Ball. Tiana Taylor gave me Monsters Ball vibes. Halle Berry. So like I said, it was a long movie to digest, but I think it's a good like Saturday or Sunday binge watch. I enjoyed it. Why didn't you like it?
I can't say that I didn't like it. I just honestly, I mean, like you saw what happened, but like if I had to really explain to someone what this movie was about, I just didn't feel like it was a strong story. You know what I mean? That's all. I mean, you know what I mean? I just don't think it was a strong story. I thought it was longer than it needed to be. The characters were great. Don't get me wrong, but
I thought it was a strong because you have to go into it too, knowing that it's satire as well. It's not, you know, it's drama, it's satire. The whole Santa Claus situation with the white men. I mean, it has KKK in it. You know, there, you know, it's a lot going on.
But let's say this, if you had to explain to someone what this movie was about, could you do it in one sentence?
It's like name that.
I mean, I think you could. I mean,
that's my point. My point for me is like I had to explain. I started, you know, I was like, okay, you know, it was an interesting concept, right? It was an interesting story, concept rather. But I just don't think that it was great. It wasn't as great as I expected it to be. That's all.
It gave kind of like Quentin Tarantino. What's his name? Quentin Tarantino. What's his name?
That's his name.
Yeah, I think it gives that too, but I don't think it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Sean Penn was definitely Oscar worthy nomination. I mean, he played the mess out of that part.
For sure. Like I said, the characters were great. But
they were good.
I'm really thinking about story. You know what I mean? I just don't think that the story was strong in that way. You know what I mean? When I think about story, that's the thing. I think something was missing. I don't know what it is, but it's not a movie I would go back because it was long that I would go back and watch it. Unless you're a huge fan, because they had all the greats in there. Don't get me wrong. Tiana Taylor, Sean Penn. I mean, Sean he looks great.
Well, not in that movie, though. Not in that movie.
But I thought he looked great in that movie. I almost didn't recognize
with that walk.
Oh my God, it was all of that. It was
great. He was great in that movie. I mean,
he was great in that movie.
I think Leonardo DiCaprio was great. Yeah. I loved his character because he was clueless. You know, he was smart, but he was clueless. Okay.
Wow.
And like I said, Tiana Taylor, it does give the vibes that there could be another one. You know, there could be another one.
But they left it open. I was like, I
yeah,
hope
and she does. It does give Monsters Ball vibes. She gives you the Monsters Ball, and if you haven't seen Monsters Ball with Holly Berry, then you should. Yeah, it does. It does.
She kept laying up with white men, but you know.
Dr. Mellon says she needs to watch it. She says she really likes Tiana Taylor as a musical artist.
Yeah, well, she's something else in this movie. So yeah, everybody watch it, and then let us know what you think about it when you watch it. But that one for Best Picture. And so yesterday, like I say, the Critics' Choice Awards kicked off award season. And so we'll see how Sinners does as the awards continue to roll out. And shout out, because I didn't hear a lot about Ryan Coogler's wife, because that project was just as much hers, and her contributions to the success of it was just as important as Ryan Coogler. So definitely want to shout her out.
Oh, okay. She says her goal, Dr. Marilyn says her goal this year is to read more books than watch TV or movies.
Well, I have a book for you. It's called The Davenports. I started reading it over the break. The Davenports takes you to the Gilded Age. If you like the Gilded Age, The Davenports tells it from the Black family's perspective. And the Davenports were a family that created the carriage buggies. And during the time where cars started coming, but this is the same time during the Vanderbilts, in the Waldorf, Astoria folks. So really good read. I'm still reading it, but if you're looking for a book, Dr. Mellon, start with the Davenports.
All right, the Davenports. All right.
You know what? I'm gonna just say something real quick. Throw this in there, Dr. Marilyn, because you're right. You're absolutely right. We need to be. That's what we need to be encouraging our people to do this coming year, is read more. And Niele's a reader. Stacy not so much. He writes, but he don't. But
that's true. Listen, I can't argue with that.
But she is reading a book a week. So I don't know if you're gonna be able to catch up with her, but I think that's a great idea, right? We might need to incorporate that in the show. Do a book of the month. What's Niele reading this month? She might be like 5 or 6 books ahead of us.
Well, now you put a lot of pressure on me, because a week is a lot. I mean, that's a bit much.
I'm like, girl,
it takes a minute. It takes a minute. But yes, the Davenports, check it out. And they have a second book too that follows it. So if you start the Davenports, you have something to look forward to, because there's another book to read.
But it's fundamental.
Yes, it is. It is. I realized when I stopped reading, it stops from growing your vocabulary too. I mean, reading can just do so much for you, whether you know it or not. And so, yeah, I'm gonna have to get to it.
You're constantly educating, like you said. You're growing your vocabulary when you are reading. So
for sure,
it also depends on what you're reading too. All right, you want some black facts?
Let's do it.
On this date, way back in 1804, Ohio legislature passed the first of a succession of Northern Black laws, which restricted the rights and movements of free Blacks in the North. Most Northern states passed Black laws. Constitutions of 3 states, Illinois, Indiana, and Oregon, prohibited Black settlers. So that's what happened on this date, way back in 1804.
Black laws. Yeah. And I mean, and hey, we damn near there again. Okay. Okay. We don't talk about Carol. I'm writing that down. Dr. Marilyn, as we speak. And so my black fact today takes us back to the year of 1975, where I'm a Gen Xers at. Okay. The all Black Broadway musical, The Wiz.
He's on down the road.
Premiered, starring Stephanie Mills, and of course, we were familiar with The Wizard of Oz. And so
Yeah.
when The Wiz came out, we saw ourselves. And so the premiere starring Stephanie Mills happened on Broadway. And then, of course, it was adapted into the movie starring Diana Ross, Michael Jackson, known as the legendary, iconic Black culture film, The Wiz.
Yeah, there was a record store, and folks today don't know what records are, or record stores called The Wiz, and we had one in Queens on Jamaica Avenue. And when The Wiz, the play, came out, Stephanie Mills, of course, was the star, and very young Stephanie Mills. She went to The Wiz on Jamaica Avenue and was doing a signing, and it was chaos. It was the first time, you see rockers and musicians and entertainers do signings or whatever, and it's like really wild or whatever. It was the first time I'd seen something like that, and it was so bad. Folks was they even broke the window to the Wiz store. It was that type of crowd. And Stephanie, in order to get her out, they took her out in an ambulance, and so the people wouldn't know that she was leaving. It was so it's just a testament to how big that was in Black culture.
Oh no, it was huge. And when the Wiz, the movie came out, was what I gravitated to. I didn't really, because I was young. But when Michael Jackson got off that scarecrow thing, and no, before that, when the Crows was singing, and he was singing "You Can't Win."
You can't win.
Okay. And then he got off and they eased on down that road. Life changing for me. Love it, love it, love it. And so I have my little nieces and nephews watching The Wiz.
One of the stars that you mentioned doesn't get talked about enough, in my opinion. That's Nipsey Russell.
The Tin Man.
The Tin Man, but he was a great comedian, and a lot of people, when they start talking about great comedians, I don't hear his name enough. But he was really one of them groundbreaking comedians out of the 60s and 70s. Nipsey Russell was a real, of course, we later had the hip hop icon adopt the name Nipsey Hussle, but he got it from Nipsey Russell. So there you have it.
Yeah,
Dr. Mellon says she remembers Tower Records. Yeah, I remember Tower Records as well. The Lion, who played the Lion? Golly, who played the Lion, y'all?
Oh, you're welcome, Dana Kirk. You're welcome.
Oh, okay.
She just ordered the book. Yay. Okay, so we're gonna talk about it. I'm gonna give y'all some time. We'll come back and we'll talk about the Davenport. But yeah, who played the lion?
Well,
he
I'm
was
looking
good.
now. That was Ted Ross, or Theodore Ross, played the Lion.
Yeah.
So there you have it.
And then that whole ending, and I'm talking about the movie now, not the play. I never saw the play, but the ending of the movie when the people came out of the suits and the witch burned and Can You Feel a Brand New Day. Now, who wrote those songs? Wasn't that Luther Vandross who wrote those songs?
Was it?
Yep,
I'm not
it was
sure.
Luther. Google it. It was Luther Vandross. Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
Luther.
Wow. That's amazing. I did not know that. Was it in the documentary and I just missed it?
Yep, it was.
Okay. Wow.
It was.
Luther was amazing.
Yep,
Absolutely
he wrote A
amazing.
Brand New Day. That's where I got that from. The song was written by famed singer and composer Luther Vandross.
Nice. Very nice. All right. So there's some history right there. The Wiz. That's a good one. And like you said, those who were around at that time who were old enough to remember, that was a treat for us.
It really was. It was. I mean, and it was so colorful, and it was just so you got to be seen in green, and the whole wizard, Richard Pryor. Don't forget about Richard Pryor.
Don't forget about Richard Pryor. Oh my God. How could you forget about Richard Pryor? Oh my gosh. Richard was one of a kind.
That's it.
Okay. Well, folks, tomorrow is Tomorrow is a January 6th, as you guys know, and January we will be talking about the anniversary. And to me, January 6th, 2021 began the descent into what we are today in America. It began the plunge into authoritarianism, perhaps dictatorship, and I can explain why more tomorrow.
Yes, but we're also going to have a lot of stuff to uplift you, to inspire you, and things you may not know, and talk about how no matter what happened in 2021, Black folks have continued to uplift and to inspire, and to do the work to make this country better. So we'll have those stories as well.
We got a special guest too, right?
We do have a special guest. Capitol Police Officer Harry Dunn will be with us tomorrow to talk about his experience, where he is now, and just what he thinks of the state of America is all about. So he'll be joining us. But in between time, Stacy has a lot of stories for you to read. So go on over to BlackPressUSA.com for the latest in Black news that empowers and inspires.
Or the WashingtonInformer.com. Check them out too.
Oh yeah,
that's where a lot of my stuff is too. Well, it's all over. San Diego Voice, all that. Okay. Insight News. Check it out. I'm trying to steal some of Niele's thunder as the day goes on. She started the day pretty cool. Here we go. We'll see you tomorrow.